Hormozi has one of the most powerful frameworks that I've ever seen in terms of blowing up your qualified lead flow, booking more appointments for your business, and overall scaling your revenue without even touching a new funnel, mechanism, or creating a new product. If you understand how it works, and more importantly, how to execute it, this framework can completely transform the way that you grow your coaching business. And this is the crazy part, because most people think that they need a new lead gen system, they need to be posting more content online, have new ads, or just find a new tactic to scale. In the takeaways that you're going to learn in this video, I've personally used this and implemented it into clients' companies. We had a client go from 0 to 44K in a single month. Another client having 400,000 followers on Instagram and a ton of lead flow. He was still booking 0 appointments. We scaled him up to $28,000 for the month, and how we've booked hundreds and hundreds of appointments for clients in the high ticket coaching space. So unless you hate growth, leads, and money, you're going to want to watch this video the whole way through. So let's dive right into it. Before we break down anything, let's look at Hormozi's methodology on what a cold lead is and what a warm lead is.
So let's dive into this. You have people who know you, which are warm audiences, and you have people who don't know you, which are other people's audiences, right? Strangers. All right, and so warm are people who gave you permission to contact them. Friends, family, followers, current, past customers, contact anyone who knows who you are. Now, little differentiation here I just want to point out is that they need to know you to be warm. You don't necessarily need to know them. And the larger you get, the more you advertise, the more people will know you without you necessarily knowing them. All right, and so I just want to be very clear here, is it doesn't have to be bidirectional, it has to be unidirectional. They have to know you. Now in the beginning, the easiest way to find people who know you is people you also know too. All right, now on the second level here, you've got cold. And the clearest definition I give you is people who did not give you permission to contact them, AKA strangers. These are other people's audiences, lists, or eyeballs, earballs that belong to platforms, right? So if you advertise on Facebook, like those people know Facebook, they don't know you, and so they haven't given you permission to contact them, but they've given Facebook permission. So you use Facebook as a proxy to contact them through, and then if they decide to engage with you and opt in, then they become a lead for you, all right? Then they become warm over time. So those are the two types of audiences, people who know you, people who don't.
So we went through Hormozi's definition on what a cold lead is, and also what a warm lead as well, and also the definition on warm outreach versus cold outreach. And this is why I love warm outreach so much, because it's way higher leverage than cold outreach. And this is exactly what I'm going to base this video on. Now, it gives you way higher leverage, and you can use this within your coaching business to, one, generate more qualified leads into your coaching business and pack out your calendar with a bunch of pre-sold, ready to buy prospects. Why is warm outreach better? It's way easier to talk to people who already know you and like your stuff, and they're more likely to reply to you, have a chat with you, and eventually book on a call. And that's actually how you get going to that 3 to 10 calls per day mark with warm outreach alone. So if we go to Hormozi's core 4, we have ads, content, cold outreach, and warm outreach. What we've seen works best in terms of scaling our clients' coaching offers is pairing content and ads to just get people to know, like, and trust us, know about our stuff, use that as the traffic generator. And then the conversion mechanism is the warm outreach, because again, they're going to reply, chat with us, and book in on an appointment. Now, you may be wondering, where are these leads who know, like, and trust me, know about my offer or what it is I do? Now, if you have a presence on social media, it doesn't need to be as big as this. So I'm using an example of a client with 400,000 followers. You could have as little as 2,000 followers, 1,000 on Instagram and 1,000 on Twitter. And you can still book a ton of appointments and generate a ton of clients. Where do you find these? We have a list of leads here who followed us. They've seen our content through either an ad or a reel. They dropped us a follow. They're interested in what it is we have to offer. Same with story views, same with likes on our posts, and same with comments as well. And that's just a few ways you can find warm leads. And this doesn't just need to be on Instagram. You can leverage this on any platform where you have a following. Could be an email list. You've maybe run a lead magnet, have phone numbers. These are warm leads who have opted in, followed you, like your content, and they're implicitly interested in what it is you have to offer. So reach out to them, use warm outreach. Now, once you know where to reach out to these people, let's dive into what Hormozi says about actually reaching out to these prospects.
All right, and so then here's what you do. You reach out to 100 people every single day via email, phone call, direct message, SMS, voicemail, whatever it is. And you reach out to the person who knows you. And you do 100 every day. And this is one of my favorite Chinese proverbs. Everything must be hard before it can be easy. And so if you're like, man, this is going to be hard. Well, I promise you that you probably waited 20 years to do the first one, but you only wait 2 minutes to do the second one, and then 20 seconds to do the third one. And it gets easier the more you do. All right? And again, your big fear is of getting rejected. And I'll tell you how to get around that in a second. Not the fear, I'll just show you what you need to say so you don't even get into that situation. All right? And when you do this, you're like, well, do I reach out to them once? No, reach out to them multiple times. Why? Because you have something that you think might help them. They don't know that yet, but all we're doing is ask them about themselves. Again, we haven't done any soliciting, we haven't sold anything at all, we're just asking them about themselves, all right? And the reason you do it this way is you act like you actually want to talk to them. So like if you actually want to talk to your mom or your dad or pick some person that you like, what would you do? Would you text them once? No. You text them, you call them. And then a couple hours later, you text and call them, be like, oh, what's up? Hey, where are you, right? Because you'd act like you're actually trying to get a hold of them, not work them like a lead. You act like a human being, and people respond to you like a human being. Crazy.
So once you have the lead list, just simply reach out to 100 people from that list every single day, which is in the form of new followers coming onto your page. You have to be posting content for this to actually work, to bring in new followers, to bring in likes, comments. So you have new followers, even old followers, likes, comments, story views, reposts, all of that sort of stuff. Any form of engagement on any social media account. And what Hormozi says, when you reach out to these people, don't act like you're just trying to work a lead or get a commission or book them in on an appointment. Instead, frame it as you are truly interested in speaking to them and having a conversation, just like having a conversation with a close friend or a family member. Because very recently we had a setter, he took them through the whole conversation, sent them a booking link. Now, they didn't book in straight away, and the setter was overthinking on what should I say to this lead who I've sent a booking link to, but they haven't booked in on an appointment. And I just simply said, well, if you sent, let's just say, your friend a time where you wanted to go out for dinner, like a reservation, hey man, what time do you want to do it? Or you send them a link to book in a table. You see they haven't booked in a table, what would you say to them? You maybe give them a call or just say, hey man, understand you're busy, but I was just wanting to check in if any of those times worked for you. Just let me know because I don't want anything else to override it. It's super simple, just like you're having a conversation with a close friend or a family member. You will be getting a ton of replies if you run this every single day, 100 new outbounds a day, non-negotiable, especially on warm as well. Now, once you've got replies, Hormozi has this super simple but really effective way to understand the basics of appointment setting and getting leads to book in on your calendar. And if you have a setter or you're setting appointments yourself, you're reaching out to these people yourself, they reply, I would tell them or you to watch this specific part of the video because it's super important in terms of leading a conversation in terms of appointment setting.
Now, some people are going to respond. What do I say now? Use the ACA framework. Acknowledge, compliment, ask the next question. All right? This is also, by the way, how you have a conversation. Pro tip. So acknowledge. Acknowledge what they said and then restate it to show that you're listening. Now, in a phone call, that's called mirroring, right? It's something that people actually like people who mirror them, and it sounds ridiculous. Now, you don't be a weirdo about this, all right? It's just showing that you're listening to what they're saying, and it shows that you're paying attention to them. Because the three things that reward people are attention, affection, and approval, all right? So we're showing attention and approval by paying attention to what they're saying and then saying it back, so it shows we approve of it, all right? And so, like, example, 2 kids, and you're a full-time accountant, and they just told you that they have 2 kids and they're a full-time accountant. Like, wow. Now we go to C. Now we compliment them. Man, you're a super mom, so hardworking. And you're managing a full-time career with 2 kids, that's crazy, right? And so what you do is you compliment them on whatever it is they told you about themselves, all right? And ideally, if you want to go super here, tie it to a positive character trait if you can, all right? So if you want to say that, see it says hardworking, all right? You want to tie that thing they are to a trait, because what we're going to do later is we're going to use that trait and associate our thing with the trait we associated them with. And so then they're going to see I equals should buy this product because they want to maintain that positive trait in your eyes because they want your attention, your affection, your approval. So we've acknowledged what they said. We give them a compliment about it. We associate with a label that's positive. And you might be like, this sounds like a lot. It's going to be via message or via email, and maybe it's a phone call. You'll get some reps in. And guess what? You're going to blow in the beginning, and that's okay. Because guess what? If you do 1,000 of these, you'll blow less than you did at the beginning. That is a promise. All right? And so that's guaranteed. And so if you know you can blow less in the future, then you might as well get the blowing now today out of the way. All right? So the last A is you ask the next question. And so here's the key part. Like, this is the key, is you lead the conversation in a direction closer to your offer. So if I have that mom who has 2 kids, Now, mind you, she didn't bring up anything. She just said, I have 2 kids and I'm an accountant. Okay. Well, there's nothing new there. That's fine. I use a purposely boring scenario to show you how this works. So if I were selling therapy, then I'd say, hey, do you ever get time for yourself? If I was selling fitness, I'd say, hey, do you have time to get workouts in? Or how do you prep your food? Or how do you prep your food for yourself and your family? These are all ways that I could weave that in. If I was selling cleaning services, I would say, hey, do you have anyone who helps you around the house? It doesn't matter what they said in the beginning. You can still ask and lead the conversation in whatever direction you want. ACA. Acknowledge what they said, compliment them for saying it, and then ask a question that leads them one step closer to what we're ultimately going to offer them.
In my opinion, the ACA framework is the best way to navigate and control a conversation when it comes to DM setting. You could even use this when it comes to closing as well, given that you actually have a proper script or a framework to follow and take them down the conversation. This is like the appointment setting version of Hormozi's closer framework, and it's super powerful. We still leverage this with our current setters and our current clients using the ACA framework inside of their scripts. Now, if you don't leverage this inside of your conversations that you're having with your warm prospects, you'll find that your reply rate may be high, it may be up to KPI, because that's the first message that you send out. You will go straight to their inbox. They've seen your content, they know what you offer, and they're just excited to chat with you. But you may have a low appointment booking rate, you may have a low booking link request rate, and leads will just ghost you in the middle of a conversation because they feel like it's an AI that's going to be chatting with them. This is something, again, that we personally drill into our setters when they're having a conversation. And with each ask, we're taking them through a process to eventually book them in on an appointment. So we introduce ourselves, we qualify them based on our client's qualification criteria, we transition to the call, we propose the call, see if they actually want to get on a call to help them bridge their gap, and then give them a reason to book on a call now. So the way we sort of take a step through this script here is we don't just hit them with a bunch of questions, a bunch of questions, a bunch of questions. We use the ACU framework to nicely segue to intro, qualification, all the way through the different steps until eventually we get to booking in the lead now. Now we know how to reach out to leads, where to find leads, why warm outreach is efficient and high leverage, how to navigate conversations to book an appointment. Let's look at Hormozi's 3-step framework to maximize all the steps that we've just went through.
You know that the advertising that you do currently works to some degree, right? And so the next obvious thing that you can do is to get more engaged leads is more, a lot more. Crank up the volume to your max capacity. Because one of the questions I ask when we invest in a company is, okay, so what are we currently doing? And they say, we do outreach, we do content, we do paid ads. And I say, okay, what's stopping us from doing 10 times more of that? More. Nothing better, nothing new. Because if it is working, fundamentally, because of the economics of the business, like they are making money, then why can't we do more? And it's crazy how infrequently the entrepreneur will ask this question, and it's because they're so close to it. So I'm asking this question to you so that you can ask this question to yourself. Okay, I'm doing cold outreach. Cool. Why can't you do from 100 a day to 1,000 a day? If you're doing cold calls, why can't you do 1,000 a day? If you're doing 1,000 a day in ad spend, why can't you do 10,000 a day? Like, what's stopping you? And as soon as you identify the thing that is stopping you, which oftentimes there's nothing, but if you can identify the thing that's stopping you, then that becomes the single constraint of the business. And that's what you attack, and that's what you solve.
So the key takeaway being there is, what is stopping us from doing more? If your current efforts on content, cold outreach, warm outreach, paid ads is already working, what's the single biggest constraint that's stopping you from 10x in the volume, 5x in the volume, even 2x in the volume? And there's another sort of term that he uses called volume negates luck. If you just do a bunch of volume, it is unreasonable you wouldn't scale. And this part is a super valuable lesson. Let's say you're running the warm outbound system that we've been talking about in this video. You're doing 100 warm outbounds per day, and this is booking you 5 calls a day from 100 DMs. Okay, it's working, you're booking calls, you're closing clients, perfect. And as Hormozi says, what's stopping you from 10xing your current input, or even doing 200 more extra? Let's just say you did go from 100 to 300 outbounds every single day. But let's just say, for talking's sake, every 100 outbounds you do, you get 5 calls. So if you done another extra 200, you would be at 15 calls per day instead of 5. So if it's already working for the 5, just do more volume. And that's an extra 300 calls per month, and you've done nothing else except just do more, add more volume. Meaning, if you have the correct system that is outputting at least 3 calls a day, all you have to do to get to 6 calls a day is just double the input, double the volume. Now, I know there's platform limits and in terms of DMs and stuff like that, but it doesn't mean you can't leverage other platforms and do more outreach and more warm outreach on other platforms, or run ads in a fashion where you get leads to DM you first. And in general, with Hormozi's questions, what is the reason you cannot do more volume? Whatever your answer is, you can attack that constraint fast. And to add fuel to the fire now, how can we get more out of this system with the exact same effort?
So getting better gets you more leads for the same effort. Think leverage. We want that. And we can only get better by doing one thing, testing. So you do more and more until it breaks, and then you make it better. So let's walk through this example. Let's see if 30% of people opt in. They give you free information. And then 5% apply for whatever thing that you sell or services, okay? And then 50% schedule after that point. Let's ignore the constraint for a moment and imagine that we improve each step by 5%. So 30% goes to 35%, which would be a 16% increase, which is 1.16. 5% becomes 10%, which is a 100% increase in leads, which is a doubling. And if 50%, adding 5% becomes 55%, scheduling is a 10% increase in leads. That's 1.1. So, which one of these will we attack? The opt-in, the apply, or the schedule? We would attack the apply because the constraint you can define as the one that will have the largest percentage improvement in absolute measures. So you can just take an absolute percentage, add it up, and see which one of them will have the highest impact. And that's where you focus your energy. Because if we took that 5 and made it 20, we would 4x our throughput. And so even more than doing 4 times more, I would think to myself, well, is it easier for me to improve this from 5 to 20? Probably more than getting 4 times as many callers. Well, then I will focus on that.
Now, we've just watched Hormozi talking about how to get more, how to get better results with the exact same effort. And this part is all about collecting the data. So Hormozi ran us through an example where he collected all the data from opt-ins, qualified leads, leads in, all of that stuff, and he could see the single greatest bottleneck and the constraint within his system. We then iterate on that data, we test a new variable every single week, and we repeat until the whole system keeps getting better. Now, how does this actually work in real time? So let's say you have a script, you've wrote out your opener, okay? You run this opener, so the first message to 500 new leads, and you're aiming for a 40% response rate. And just for talking sake, everything else is in KPI. But you collect the data, and let's just say over a week you message 500 leads, and the response rate is sitting at around 10%, which means that it is heavily out of KPI. You want to reach out to 100 people, you want 40 people to respond, you want 40 conversations, but instead you're reaching out to 100 leads and you're only getting 10 conversations. So, as Hormozi says, would it be easier to reach out to 4 times more leads, so jump to 100 messages a day, to 400 messages a day to get to that 40 conversations started? Or is it easier to create an opener that has a 4x better reply rate, but with the exact same volume? And if we go back to the last module, it would be good to create an opener that has a 4x better reply rate and then also do 4x the volume. That's how you really scale these systems. But most importantly, you need to run this test long enough to see if you're actually getting an improvement within the system. So one day you might get a really good reply rate, the next day it may completely tank. So what Hormozi does is he tests 1 variable a week. So that's 52 variables over a year. And by the year you've tested, you've iterated, you've tracked this over 52 weeks, 52 times. It's unreasonable that your systems won't be very, very good and working very, very well. So we've covered why more volume matters, and then also additionally how to get more out of the same effort. And there's one more part to this 3-part scaling framework, which is adding something new. So let's dive into what Hormozi has to say about that.
And so that leads us naturally to new. So like, okay, well, I get more and I get better. So what about new? So after you've improved your marketing efforts through more and better, the only thing you have left is new places in new ways. All right? In simple terms, new. One of the big fallacies that I see actually is you have a small business owner, let's say a guy who owns a dry cleaning store, right? And then he starts marketing and he sees another guy who's marketing on the same platform as him. And he's like, oh, I'm splitting the pie in half. It's me and this other guy. And then 2 other guys start marketing on the platform. And now he's only got a quarter of the pie. He's very sad. very sad for the dry cleaner, right? So he thinks, well, shoot, that's it. I've just divided this pie. But the reality is that they're using one medium on one platform in one targeted audience for one specific type of avatar. There's so much more attention out there you can possibly imagine. And so what most people think their market is one method, one platform, one medium, when in reality it is you've got warm outreach, you've got cold outreach, you've got posting content, you've got running ads, you've got that across Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, email, cold call, cold email, direct mail, Hulu, Spotify, radio ads, TV ads, like newspapers, like the list goes on in all of those things. And so they think that because somebody else is running an ad, they somehow split the pie when they haven't even gotten a seat at the table yet. All right? And so I can promise you that there's significantly more available to you.
So once you have a system working and it's actually up to KPI, you're getting leads, you're getting qualified leads, booked appointments. The best thing to do is just do more volume. The next best thing to do is make it better. And then once you've exhausted that in the channel, you then add in new. So for example, for this client here, we have 400,000 followers on Instagram. A mechanism for new is to change the placement. So for example, placement, we're running Instagram Reels right now as our main sort of traffic source. The best thing to do for new would just be to add stories. Message with people that are engaging on stories, message with people that are engaging on polls. Because you'd be surprised, some people come on Instagram, they don't scroll on the feed, they literally just go straight to the stories. So that's a way we could tap into a new audience who may be following us. So that's the easiest and lowest risk way to implement new. For example, if you have YouTube, you're running long form videos, just chop them down, put them onto shorts and tap into that segment of the market who only watch short form on YouTube and not long form at all. Or another way you could leverage new is start a new platform. In this case, our client could leverage YouTube. Just because our client doesn't leverage YouTube, we're just exhausting Instagram right now. And Hormozi says, you've probably not exhausted it as much as you actually think you have. So we're just running Instagram now, getting a bunch of leads and a bunch of appointments from Instagram, and that's what's working best for us. We're focusing on more and we're focusing on better before we do new. And new could be another extension of the core four. So where else could you run content? Where else could you run warm outreach? Where could you maybe do cold outreach? Could you start running ads to supplement the warm outreach? And to my point, we come into a client's business and within the first few weeks, the first couple clients that they get that pay in full that come into the program always are old followers, because there was nothing in place where they could, put their hands up or reach out to us, or even the cheapest way, Hormozi says, is we would reach out to them. So you might be posting content, but you've got to pair it up with either warm outreach, getting people to come inbound with you, book them in on an appointment and close them in on a deal. You'd be surprised, even 2,000, 3,000 followers, there's a lot of cash waiting to be collected inside of your audience. Now, if you found value in this video, just subscribe to the channel. And if you want to learn how we implemented these strategies into our client's business to scale him from $0 to $28,000 in his coaching business, and also go from 0 to 90 plus booked appointments in just over 30 days, I will link the video inside of the description.